Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Rectum, by Brosidon. Pius Augustus opened his eyes. He was strapped to a stone slab, much like in the manner of the Aztec sacrifice ritual, but he knew this was something much, much worse. For so long, he had been wandering that accursed house, wishing to be free, to defeat the evil that lurked within. But sometimes, evil wins. Looking around him, he could see nothing but darkness, save for a few pillars of stone in the strange room, which he had never seen in the house before. The rotting stench of death comforted him in his skeletal state. He heard something in his mind. Mantarok. 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 It wasn't just a thought, it was a feeling. Desire. Need. A slimy tentacle slid out of the darkness, worming its way towards him on the stone tablet. Pius began to realize what was about to happen. As a second tentacle slapped itself onto the slab, he was stricken with horror. It happened so fast, he barely had time to gasp. Both tentacles flew towards him like slimy, phallic whips, snaking in under his Satyrian kilt. One wrapped around his flaccid cock. The other one began worming its way under him, towards his holiest of holes. "No, Mantarok, please!" The reply was cold as ever. Mantarok. Mantarok. Pius could do naught but clench his anus and prepare. Pius was once a fool. He had learned the frailty of flesh and bone, and colons. How long had he been a proud centurion, commanding his armies in Persia? 1,000? 2,000 years? He couldn't remember. All he knew now was that he was receiving an incredibly violent fucking from a tentacle. In and out. In and out. It had been about 2 minutes, and despite his strongest convictions, he was beginning to get hard. The second tentacle seemed to notice this and began pulsating, wrapped around his cock. The slime tripped onto the stone. Powerless to stop it, he simply lay there, almost weeping. Suddenly, when he felt his anus could take no more, the tentacle stopped moving. A great ripping noise shook through the cavernous rape room. A young man stepped into sight, wearing a hooded jacket. Pius, managing to hold back the bile from his tentacle assault, could barely contain his revulsion at what had just happened. His relief, however, allowed him to compose himself. He looked at the hooded man, finally able to get a proper look at his face. Pius could now gauge that he was in his mid to late 20s. Thank you so much. Who are you?" sputtered Pius, cock still shaking and anus still bleeding. "My name is Alex Mercer, and I'm the reason for all of this. They call me a killer, a monster, a terrorist. I am all of these things," came the steely reply. "Well," chuckled Pius, "you can't be all bad. You did save me." A cold laugh filled the room. "Save you? No, my dear centurion. I simply didn't want to share you." Pius could only scream at the man's arm began twisting and bubbling and changing shape, flipping him over with ungodly strength. Alex mounted the Roman man from behind. "You know, it's just a shame that Zeus was a Greek god and not a Roman one. Or I'd have a fucking hilarious joke to make right now," quipped Alex. As a large, sword-like cock pierced his anus, Pius realized he was being raped for the second time today. He was not happy. After what felt like an eternity of pounding and anus destruction, Alex began to groan, and so, as much as it horrified him, did Pius. He wished against it with every fiber of his being, prayed to every god he knew, but it wasn't enough. As one of Alex's claws reached around and began jerking him off, Pius couldn't hold it in. He orgasmed, like he never had before, and as he did, so did Alex. Claws raking into his back, Pius caused a horrible mixture of blood and semen to spray onto the dank stone slab. Panting, Alex climbed off his new lover. He smiled. Snaking his tendrils back, he gave Pius a quick biomass whip on the arse, before cutting him free and flying off. Pius, shaking with horror, relief, and reluctant pleasure, could do nothing but roll off the table. He was free at last. Then he heard something. Mantarok. Mantarok. He sighed. This wasn't going to be a good day. Finn.